Hi everyone. If I can borrow about 15 minutes of your time, I would like to use it to spread awareness of a disorder that affects how the brain comprehends what you hear. The symptoms are very easy to notice in someone and are fairly often overlooked under the attention deficit disorder and autism umbrellas. My name's Frank, and I'm going to share with you my experiences with Central Auditory Processing Disorder, or CAPD for short. This video will address the following topics about the disorder: definition, symptoms, limitations, coping strategies, and a new hope. The last topic's title is not to plagiarize the Star Wars movie. You'll see why it was given the title once we get to it. It includes an advertisement for a fantastic device in a specific audiologist's office. I want to make it clear that the information I'm sharing is coming from the perspective of someone who is diagnosed with CAPD and not a medical professional. I'm going to say this right off the bat so that I don't have law enforcement knocking on my door thinking that I'm impersonating a doctor. Central Auditory Processing Disorder is when your brain has trouble processing the sounds that it hears. It's estimated to affect about 5% of school-aged children. The disorder is becoming more well-known. When I was growing up, it was almost impossible to find someone who knew what it was. It's primarily genetic, although it can also occur from events such as traumatic brain injuries from events like car accidents, premature birth or prenatal exposure to drugs, strokes, frequent middle ear infections, and lead poisoning. CAPD is different from traditional hearing loss because most people with this disorder can hear on par with their peers. In my case, my scores on standard audiology exams are normal. This can confuse other people because as soon as they discover that someone has a hearing difficulty, what's the first solution that tends to come to mind? Talk. I can't stress this enough for the majority of people with CAPD. Our ears work fine. The problem is not how well we hear, it's how our brains internalize what we hear. As we'll discuss in the next topics, loud noises only make our troubles worse. The symptoms of CAPD include difficulties with hearing and responding accurately in noisy environments, locating sounds in noisy environments, especially behind your head, avoiding distractions, sensitivity to loud noises, comprehending low or high frequency sounds, musical and singing skills, following conversations, especially fast-paced ones, remembering spoken information, particularly multi-step directions or sequences, maintaining focus and attention, following directions, and reading, spelling, and learning. People with standard hearing loss would have difficulty with the sounds reaching their ears. With CAPD, the sounds do make it past the gates of your ears. The problem is when the message is sent to the speech processing areas of the brain. These pathways tend to distort or mix up the original message by the time it reaches the brain. Think of it like spreading a message through a line of people. The first person's message is much different by the time it reaches the last person in line. Background noises amplify this problem. For example, if you're with your friends and there's music playing in the background and someone says to you, "The pool is blue," you may have heard, instead, "The pool is glue," or "The tool's for you." These distortions make you misinterpret what people actually said, and the more background noises there are, the worse they get. People without hearing comprehension difficulties can naturally tune out background noises to focus on the main sources of speech directed at them. This function in the brain of someone with CAPD lies dormant, so they basically hear all noises at the same level. Knowing this, people with this disorder generally have two options when talking to others. Either ask people to repeat what they said at least 4 times and cause them to become irritated, or pretend they understood what they said and hope that the responses are accurate. As I said in the beginning of this video, the symptoms of CAPD can mirror some of ADD and autism. The extra sensitivity to loud sounds can make younger kids cry and essentially stun teens and early adults. CAPD can be a part of the autism spectrum. However, it is possible to have this disorder without being on the spectrum. In my case, I tested positive for CAPD and negative for ADD and autism. So it can easily be misdiagnosed if a specific audiology exam is not performed. This, combined with the confusion with traditional hearing loss, makes this disorder known as the hidden hearing loss. As you can probably tell, these symptoms cause the daily life of someone's job, academics, and social networking to be very challenging, to put it nicely. Now, there's a significant chance that these symptoms can improve after puberty. I was one of those lucky folks that had the symptoms become more severe as I got older. You're about to get insight into how these symptoms can limit someone's capabilities. People with profound cases of CAPD, like yours truly, can miss out entirely on what people are saying in noisy environments. I can't tell you how many times I found out after the fact that someone was trying to talk to me and I wasn't looking at them, and I missed it entirely because I couldn't distinguish their sounds from the rest of the environment. I ended up completely ignoring them without even knowing it. This happened with friends, at work, at parties, at restaurants, you name it. If it wasn't that I missed what they said entirely, I gave responses that had absolutely nothing to do with what the person was saying. These scenarios tend to have people thinking that you're one of two things: a jerk or a space cadet. Neither of these things are true, but explaining this to people who have never heard of CAPD is very challenging and intimidating. It's almost like they think you're making up an imaginary disorder or something. That being said, the primary area of your life that CAPD inhibits is your social interactions. There are different settings where this disorder significantly impacts your interactions with others. CAPD affects your school and work life when you have trouble remembering what you were told. This makes it seem that you can't follow directions or are intentionally defying your supervisors. Once your supervisors or colleagues get a negative perception of you, it's very hard to break. In the classroom, these children can experience humiliation when responding dead wrong to teacher questions or taking a long time to process what has been asked while everyone is waiting and staring at them. For these reasons, kids with CAPD may tend to avoid asking questions when they don't understand. When taking tests, they'll be distracted by every little noise happening in the room. Without the proper support systems in place, grades in each subject, especially reading, can exponentially slip. The ability to play sports is also inhibited. With background noises, if you have trouble following directions and concentrating, missing what people are saying, and are sensitive to loud noises, it impacts how well you can participate in the sport. On top of that, the risk of injury, particularly to the head, can worsen symptoms. As previously mentioned, the symptoms can limit your capabilities with maintaining friendships. They can make you more prone to being made fun of, or choosing not to participate in activities with peers, particularly sports, parties, and even eating in the cafeteria. These children generally prefer to sit away from the majority of the noise. When you can't follow along with conversations, after a while, you eventually stop trying to communicate with people. Along the same lines, dating can also be difficult for someone with CAPD. When you misinterpret what someone is saying constantly, or worse, ignore them, they tend to think that you are not interested and move on. Ghosting and rejection can happen more often to people with this disorder. It makes these people think that they can't attract quality people because something is seriously wrong with them. It is not uncommon for people with CAPD to experience anxiety, fatigue, and even depression from the limitations these symptoms provide on a day-to-day basis. When you always feel a step behind your peers and cannot understand for the life of you why, over time you start to internalize these negative interactions and outcomes as something personally or physically wrong with you. This is especially true if you are in unsupportive and hostile environments. I remember having to take at least a 2-hour nap directly after school, work, and social settings because I was mentally and physically fatigued from struggling to hear correctly, in addition to the stressors of these settings. It was like trying to distinguish sounds in an auditorium all day long. Don't get me wrong, it's completely normal to feel tired after a day of school, work, and social settings, and there are truly jobs out there that drain the life out of you. In my case, my fatigue from trying to comprehend was just an added bonus. It impacted my drive to exercise and engage in social settings with friends. These limitations make someone's personal and professional life terrible. Up next, we'll talk about some legal, documented strategies that can be used in the classroom if you have been diagnosed with CAPD. When I was growing up, these were the accommodations made in the classroom that helped with my symptoms. Speakers and/or FM systems that I could connect headphones to that amplified the teacher's voice. Sitting away from air conditioners and heaters. Taking tests in quiet locations outside of the classroom and having extended testing time. Having the teacher repeat directions. And having as many written directions as possible. In elementary school, I had speech services to help me with letter and word sounds. In college, I had a smart pen, which, as you write, would record lectures on a special type of notebook paper. When I forgot what the professor was saying or was confused with my notes, I would click on a letter of the notes with the pen and re-listen to that part of the lecture at that time. It was awesome and definitely helped me throughout my undergraduate years. Although these are good accommodations, I couldn't really use them anywhere outside the classroom. Can you imagine me trying to walk around in public with a microphone and just being like, "Hi, I'm Frank from the non-existent news network. Would you mind talking into this so I can hear you better?" Or carry a smart pen and notebook everywhere I went? Yeah, don't think that's going to help me score any points in the social realm. With all the above being said, I am beyond excited to share with you the next section. It is undeniable how far technology has come in recent years with its capabilities. As soon as I put this product into my ears, my entire world has opened up and changed for the better. I did not think that I would live in a time where there would be a real solution to the symptoms that have plagued me my entire life. This product was specifically designed to negate the symptoms of Central Auditory Processing Disorder. Instead of amplifying noises like regular hearing aids, these reduce the excess background noise to help you focus on one or a few speech sources. They perform the function of parts of the brain that naturally do this. They're called low-gain hearing aids. The specific brand of low-gain hearing aids I have is from Phonak. This is a brand from Sonova, an international company specializing in hearing care, and it has been around since 1947. It is based in Stäfa, a territory of Zurich, Switzerland. I cannot thank this company enough for the innovation in its products. Thanks to these hearing aids, my entire life has transformed for the better. What I could not do before, I could do now and then some. I can follow more multi-step oral directions. I can play sports if I wanted to, with lots of practice. I can follow when someone is talking to me from across the room and not looking at me. Loud sounds don't faze me as much anymore because the hearing aids reduce these types of noises. The only thing that's remained the same is that I still can't sing, sadly. Like other modern hearing aids, these connect through Bluetooth to my phone. They hold their charge for 18 to 22 hours. Here are some of the features that you can control with your smartphone. Your audiologist will program the settings in the hearing aids to match your specific needs. What's more, you can take phone calls without you having to have the phone next to your head. You can also listen to music with them. The hearing aids can connect to car and computer speakers, giving you clarity of what someone is saying even with virtual communication. Just a few points to bring up. First, they are expensive. They can be at least $6,000. For most mere mortals, a payment plan is the best way to go. Trust me when I tell you that every cent towards these hearing aids is 100% worth it. Second, because this disorder is rare, finding an office that tests for it can be challenging. If you or someone you know is considering testing for CAPD and/or buying these hearing aids, when searching for audiologists, be sure to ask if they offer these specific tests and products. Know this ahead of time that you'll have to undergo a standard hearing exam before they'll do further tests for this disorder. I got the Phonak hearing aids from an amazing audiology office in Westchester, Pennsylvania. The staff there is truly wonderful and helpful. I highly recommend Aberdeen Audiology to anyone who lives nearby or even farther away. Trust me, the drive is worth it. If you live too far from this location, look for other audiology offices that test for CAPD and offer this product. It was over the course of a year of wearing these low-gain hearing aids that I realized how profound my case of CAPD was. Most of the insecurities I had as a kid and as an adult were from these limitations. The more I wore these hearing aids, the more I realized how much more I'm capable of than I ever thought before. I can see some kids being reluctant to wear these hearing aids at first. They might think that people might perceive them as deaf, or maybe even make fun of them. People have asked me in the past if I feel embarrassed by wearing these. Honestly, it's way more embarrassing for me to not wear them than it is to. Thanks to them, I can finally hear as the normal population can. I hope you found this video insightful, and that you, wherever you are, can spread awareness of this disorder and the amazing technology designed to specifically negate its symptoms. Thank you so much for